It's been a long and eventful weekend. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Too much, you could say. I mean, look at my face, right? Anyway, Duke did not prevail. Coach K will not ride off into the sunset. We've got trades. Bruce Arians retired. So many different topics we haven't tackled. We will get to all of them and then some. The Eagles out here playing chess, y'all. Y'all out here playing checkers. These boys out here playing chess. We'll get to all of that and then some here on the Louie T Network podcast that starts now. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 251st installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Got to eat a little bit of crow. I was so confident in my Duke Blue Devils. They instilled a ton of confidence. And if I'm being honest with you, if we keeping it a buck with one another, and we do that here on the Louie T Network podcast, I was smelling myself a little bit too much because those boys hadn't been consistent all season long. And they had just gotten hot at the right time of the year. And the key was Jeremy Roach and his play. We hadn't had real point guard play all season long. He started to play well when the tournament got kicked off. And it really gave us an extra added dimension that we had been missing all year long, because once you added that real threat of a true point guard, that kind of properly placed everyone. We had Wendell Moore out there trying to be everything when he just needed to be a two guard. And he was bringing the ball up the court, trying to initiate offense. And that game against Carolina, Jeremy Roach went back to being the guy that got benched at the beginning of the season. And that really hurt us. Not to mention foul trouble hurt us. 4 fouls for St. John in the first half, 2 for Mark Williams, but no excuses. Carolina made some big shots. It was a hell of a basketball game. My hat goes off to them. I'm the biggest Kansas Jayhawk fan you've ever seen that's not a Kansas Jayhawk fan tonight. But I think Carolina's going to take it, to be honest with you. But I'm rooting like hell for Remy Martin and Kansas and David McCormick and all of those boys to find a way to get that shit done tonight. I don't even like Kansas. I don't like Bill Self, but shit, I'm rooting for their asses like my mind's going bad tonight. So I'm pretty sure a lot of you are wondering, well, what the hell happened to your head? Okay, why are you up here bandaged up like you just got in a fight with Heathcliff? Good question. So I was at a party on Saturday night, and I was not in front of a television screen watching the Duke Carolina game, so I was following it on my phone. And it got to the end, and I couldn't resist. I couldn't help myself. So I have YouTube Live, YouTube TV, and so I turned the game on. And I watched Mark Williams choke away 2 free throws. Then I watched Trevor Keels, miss the back end of a 2-shot foul. And I watched us piss away 3 opportunities to really make things interesting, either win the game outright or force Carolina to do something that they didn't want to do. Either way, we didn't make winning plays down the stretch. And when the game met its conclusion, my head met the closest wall, and voila, here's the gash that appears in front of you. Nah, I'm bullshitting you, man. I wouldn't do no dumb shit like that. Nah. So let me tell y'all really what happened. So I was sitting here, right where I'm sitting right now, in my desk chair, right? Talking to my daughter. Haven't seen my daughter in my home in over 6 months. So I was excited. COVID happened, and, the twins were here, couldn't expose the twins. So it'd been a while since my daughter had actually been here in the house. And so it felt good. We're conversating with one another. And I have 2 cameras. The camera that you're actually seeing filming me right now, I have 2 of those same exact cameras. I liked it so much, I went and bought another one, right? So the second camera is off in the corner, out of the vision of what you're seeing right now. And it's on a tripod. It's connected to a power source and a light and it's on a light fixture. So it's kind of hard for you to imagine what I'm saying, but the camera that I have doesn't have a long enough battery life for me to do hour-long streams, 2 hours, 3 hours. The battery would only last for about a good 30 minutes or so before it would cut out. So instead of having to continue to change batteries, and I have a shell of a battery case, and then I have a power source hooked up to it, and that's how the battery is able to last as long as it does. It's nothing for me to do a 2, 3, even sometimes 4-hour stream. So you need that battery life. So it's connected to a power source, but that cord isn't very long. So I'm a genius. I haven't had this issue yet, so it didn't dawn on me that I probably should just disconnect it from the power source when I'm not using it. But I elevated the light fixture that it's hanging on because I wanted a better angle. I'm doing my card stuff, and I wanted a better angle for some lighting for the cards that I was taking a picture of. And so when I put everything off to the side, the light fixture that I changed the angle of and lifted it up a little higher, it fell over. Well, it hit my arm, and I didn't think much of it. I look over because, it's just a little light fixture. The thing weighs like a half a pound, so it didn't bother me any. So as I look over to try to adjust it, here comes my camera like a damn tree that just had been chopped down, that had been standing for 100 years. And that shit said, timber! And it popped me right on my damn forehead and split my shit open. And my daughter started laughing. And I'm like, this shit hurts. This is not funny. And I knew immediately with the amount of force that camera came down with, and in the area that it hit me, there is absolutely nothing but bone there. For the most part, there is no meat. So this shit is probably bleeding. The first touch, nothing. I was like, I might have dodged a bullet. The second touch, my shit was split open and it was gushing. Anyway, long story short, she felt bad because she was laughing at me and I was bleeding. She didn't know I was bleeding. She didn't know how serious it was. Looked like some shit straight out of Jackass. Just how it just fell, it was just stupid. But in any event, I'm okay. Let me tell you all something that was funny about the situation. It's funny. You can look back on it now and laugh. Shit wasn't funny last night when it happened. So, my wife is extra, right? She's extra. I love her because she's so extra. And so the first thing that I needed to do when this camera hit me and split my shit, the first thing once I knew I was bleeding, I need to see how bad the damage is. So I run upstairs, everybody's, oh, you okay? Oh, you okay? Get out of my way. I need to get to the bathroom and get to the closest mirror. Okay. There was one downstairs. That one wasn't going to suffice. I needed to get upstairs. So I wiped the blood away from my forehead that is pouring so I can see just how bad this gash, cut, whatever is. It didn't look that bad. Okay. Not bad enough for me to feel like I needed to seek medical attention, but it was still bleeding profusely. So I sit down on the toilet. I wipe away the blood. I don't know how I'm going to get the blood to stop at this point, but I'm like, I'm just going to tilt my head backwards like I got a nosebleed, and we'll figure this thing out. My wife comes upstairs. She's like, sit down. I got it. She's got the first aid kit. Gotta love wives, okay? They take care of us. They do all the things necessary to make sure that we don't kill ourselves. So she's like, sit down. I got it. She's got the first aid kit out. And she, gets the, peroxide out, and, she's got a Q-tip, and she's in there like she's the damn, boxing cut man, getting my shit straight. And she's like, oh my God, it's a gash. It's deep, babe. You should go to the hospital. You probably need stitches. And I'm like, whoa. Had she said that to me before I had seen it, I would have freaked out. I would have lost my shit. Okay. But I'm glad I had laid eyes on the cut first before she did, because she would have scared the hell out of me. In my mind, I had already seen it. I had seen the damage. I'm like, it's not that bad. It's bad enough, but it's not bad enough to need stitches. I'll be fine. She's like, oh my God. As she's, applying the peroxide and trying to stop the bleeding. Hey, this thing is bleeding pretty bad. It's deep. You should get stitches. You don't want to go to the emergency room? No, I don't need to go to the emergency room. Just continue to do what you're doing. Put a couple Band-Aids on it. We'll be fine. Put some ice on it. I'll be all right. So that's exactly what I did. And I went into the blue tent. I passed all the baseline tests, and I was able to get in and out of concussion protocol. So here I am. All right. So that is what happened over the weekend. I'm upset at myself because of all the times that the camera could fall. It could have fell at any point. Why did it have to wait until I literally sat down here for 5 minutes and it decided to come down on my head? Anyway, I digress. Big trade today in the National Football League. I told you guys we weren't done with trades. The Patriots traded for wide receiver Devontae Parker. You got the trade here with the Eagles and the Saints. We're going to get into that, knee deep into that here in a brief second. And I told you guys, I think DK Metcalf's going to get traded. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But before we get to any of that, you know what we have to do. You already know what we got to do. We got to get this Gem Droppin Session kicked off. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, LouieTeeNetwork. Let me open you up. Just like my head got opened up. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. Eagles, Saints, complete a trade. The first of what could be a couple more. Remember, last year we saw trades galore before the draft even started. This is the first draft trade we've seen this year, where it just was straight picks, no players involved, just straight picks. Obviously, the Broncos got Russell Wilson. They gave up their first round pick this year, and we've seen other teams do things like that in the draft this year, but not just straight up. All right, let me get some of your draft picks. I'm gonna give you some of mine. You give me some future draft picks. We'll call it even. We haven't seen that yet, like we did last year when everyone was jockeying for position for these quarterbacks. We don't have quarterbacks this year, so no one's really jockeying for positioning. The interesting part here is that the Saints said, look, there's about 20 dudes in this draft that we absolutely love, and we trying to build our shit back up. All right, no more Sean Payton. We're not sure about the quarterback position with Jameis Winston, but we're gonna roll with him. We're gonna ride with him for now. But we need a lot more stuff. We lost Marcus Williams. Yeah, we brought in another safety to take his place, and Marcus May. But still, it's some other shit that we got to get done. So we just want to make sure we're in a really good position to get that done. And we really love this draft. So tell you what, Philadelphia, this is what we're going to do. So the Saints give up the 18th pick this year, the 101st pick this year, the 237th pick this year, a first-round pick next year, and a 2024 second-round pick next year, in 2024, 2024 second-round pick. Okay, so the Eagles get 3 picks, one of which is in the first, another is in the, where would 101 be? 101 would be, that's a compensatory pick, so that would be in the third. 237 is a 7th. So you get a 1, a 3, and a 7 this year for Philadelphia, a 1 next year, and a 2 in 2024. The Saints get 16 this year, 19 this year. Remember, the Eagles had multiple first-round picks due to the trade that they did with the Miami Dolphins last year. So Eagles had their pick and the Dolphins, one of the Dolphins' first-round picks. So Eagles give up their first-round pick at 16 this year, the first-round pick at 19. Now, remember, they still got the 18th pick from the Saints. So they still have a first-round pick. They didn't move completely out of the first round, did the Eagles, but they gave up the option to have 2 first-round selections this year in order to have 2 first-round selections next year. And then they also gave up the 194th pick. So the Saints get 16, 19 this year in the first round, and they also get the 194th pick in this year's draft class. That sounds like about a 5th-round pick. Don't quote me on that. It might be a 6th-rounder. But it's somewhere in that neighborhood. Sounds more like, now that I'm thinking about it, sounds more like a 6th-round pick than a 5th. So anyway, big trade. Here's my biggest takeaway from this trade, okay? My wife, I'll give you, and this is why I think most people are looking at it like this. My wife screams down to me from the top of the steps when she saw the trade as I'm setting up for the podcast. She says, "What are the Eagles doing? That was dumb." I said, "Babe, the Eagles are playing chess. You're playing checkers." She said, "Okay." Then after I said that, she looked back at the trade and she said, "Oh, they want to have 2 first-round picks next year in case they need a quarterback." Ding, 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 ding. My wife is very smart, okay? And she's married to a football guy, so she's always thinking outside the box. I just needed to nudge her a little bit. I said, the Eagles are playing checkers. I mean, the Eagles are playing chess. Everybody else is playing checkers. Howie Roseman, he's a pawn, okay? He's what the kids used to call back in the day a tool, okay? Howie Roseman's a clown. However, Howie's playing chess right now. Howie's doing what we like to call preserving his job, okay? Job security. You don't have a quarterback. That's the quickest way to get fired in this league as a GM, vice president of football operations, anything like that. Anybody that's in a high-ranking position, you don't have a quarterback, your ass is on the chopping block. Howie Roseman is he's what I like to call pushing the rock down the road. He just continues to push the rock down the road. So what did Howie do last year? Okay. Howie ensured last year by trading with the Dolphins that he would have the draft ammunition to get a quarterback if Jalen Hurts stunk last season. Well, Jalen Hurts wasn't terrible. He wasn't great, okay? And I still think ultimately the Eagles will be looking for a quarterback, but he was not terrible, and he led them to the playoffs. Really, the run game led them to the playoffs, and he was a part of that. Still, doesn't matter. He wasn't terrible enough for them to say we need to move on, and this is not the draft class of quarterbacks to be wanting to do that anyway. So Howie's like, yeah, we prepared ourselves in the event that Jalen wet the bed. He didn't wet the bed, so we technically don't need 2 first-rounders this year. So tell you what, we'll trade back this year, sacrifice one of the first-rounders that we have for one next year, which will give us 2 first-rounders next year, which will give us the ammunition necessary in case Jalen stinks. There'll be better quarterbacks next year. We're assured of that. And if we need to go up and get one of those boys, we'll be in a position to do it with 2 first-rounders and whatever else needs to be done. So while everybody's looking at this trade and thinking, oh my God, you gave up 2 first-rounders in one of the deepest draft classes in recent memory, the Eagles are like, that's fine. We're okay, because we want to make sure that the most important position on our roster is going to be taken care of, whether he solidifies himself this year and we're like, hey, shit, we got 2 first-rounders. We can keep pushing that boulder down the road, or we can spend those 2 first-rounders next year and get him some stuff to help this team compete at an even higher level. Or you could say, yeah, he didn't work out. So guess what? Now we're in a position to trade up to number 2 or number 3 and get one of these young boys next year, whether it's Bryce Young or the kid from Ohio State. And you're in a position to get one of these quarterbacks that's going to help you change the game and get back to where you want to be. So the Eagles are playing chess. Everybody else is looking at this deal and they don't understand. Just like people didn't understand what Howie was doing. Again, I'm not a Howie Roseman fan, okay? But Howie's been playing chess for a long time. When he drafted Jalen Hurts, even the Eagles fans were too blind to see what he was doing. Now, I didn't think it was the smartest thing in the world because you had a fragile-minded quarterback in Carson Wentz that couldn't afford to be looking over his shoulder at a second-round pick quarterback, no matter the fact that it was just for insurance purposes only. Like Howie Roseman and company, they never drafted Jalen Hurts with the intention of him being the starter. He was supposed to be an insurance policy, just like Nicholas Foles was, just like Josh McCown was. He was supposed to be there in the event of an emergency. They could break the glass, pull Jalen Hurts out, and they wouldn't fall off of a cliff because they knew Carson Wentz was susceptible to late season injuries like he had been the past 3 years. Got him to a point where they were Super Bowl front runners in 17, got injured, and Nicholas Foles took over from there. Got him to the playoffs again, essentially in 18, got hurt late season. Nicholas Foles took over from there. All right, 19, got him to the playoffs, actually played in the playoff game, got hurt in the first quarter. Josh McCown had to take over. So they said, we can't be without a backup quarterback. Josh McCown actually blows his tire and retires after that game because he got injured in that 2019 playoff game versus Seattle. And they said, we can't go into next year without a backup, a credible backup quarterback, because Carson Wentz is going to get hurt and we got to be prepared. It wasn't to replace Carson, but Carson couldn't see that. So Howie's always been playing chess. He's doing it again. He did it again. For the Saints, they're looking at it like this. We're not very good right now. especially on offense. To me, if I'm the Saints, both of these picks, 16 and 19, are going to be spent on offensive weapons. Okay? Both of them. I don't like the Saints offense right now as it is constructed. I don't know what Michael Thomas is anymore. I can't even tell you what that guy looks like in a Saints uniform. I haven't seen him in one in such a long time. You got nothing else. I mean, I like Marquez Callaway. I don't love him, but I like him. Outside of that, I don't really know what the Saints have. Alvin Kamara clearly at running back, right? But when everybody got hurt, when Kamara got hurt last year, when, there was no Michael Thomas last year, what the hell did the Saints have? That's problematic for me. I think you have to take a receiver. And if I'm the Saints, either that other pick is an offensive lineman because you just lost Teron Armstead. Either that 19th or the 16th pick is an offensive tackle, and then you go receiver or vice versa. I gotta improve my offense because to me, with Dennis Allen taking over, the defense is going to remain potent. I think that the defense is going to give you a chance week in, week out. That's a legitimate unit on that side of the football. I question whether you've got enough on the offensive side with Jameis Winston and no more Sean Payton, who is great at finding a way to maximize whatever it is you have. That's gone now, and I love the fact that the Saints kept everything intact and just promoted from within. So there's not a lot of change and turnover. So everyone's familiar with one another. There's a lot of continuity there that gives you a fighting chance. But there's not enough talent here. The cupboard is somewhat bare offensively. So if I'm the Saints, I'm going to attack the offensive side of the football aggressively with those 2 draft picks. And maybe you're looking at it from the other perspective. Like, look, we know the offense is what it is. If Michael Thomas is healthy, if Alvin Kamara is healthy, we'll be fine. Because I like the young boy Juwan Johnson at tight end. Like I said, I don't know what Michael Thomas is going to be on, back, but if he's anything like he was prior to all of this nonsense and tomfoolery, then you got yourself a number 1 stud. Kamara, we know what he is. Just need to keep him upright and healthy. You could be okay. I don't love what you have over there. I don't like assuming that guys are just going to stay healthy. I'd like to have contingency plans in place. You don't have that in New Orleans right now because normally guys don't stay healthy for a full 17 games. It's just not how it goes in the NFL. You're going to need other guys to have to step up, whether it be for 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, or 10. You need to be in a position where you're not hinging upon Michael Thomas not hurting his ankle and then missing the remaining 15 games of the season. So, they might be thinking we need to strengthen and fortify the defense because that's what's going to give us a chance week in and week out. They could be thinking that. I would be going to the offensive side of the football if I'm the New Orleans Saints. So this is an aggressive move for not knowing who's going to be there. So that tells me that the Saints made a list of 20 guys in this draft that they absolutely love. Okay. And at 16 and 19, guess what? If you make a list of 20 dudes, 2 of them are going to be there. So you only make trades like this if you are fixated on multiple players. Just like the 49ers last year. You can't come up to number 3 unless you love 3 quarterbacks and you'd be willing to take any of the 3. Okay? That's clearly what the 49ers said when they traded up to 3 last year. Is like, look, we love Trevor Lawrence, we love Zach Wilson, we love Trey Lance, and we'll take any of the 3 that falls to us. We prefer one of the 3. Obviously, there's a pecking order there. If Trevor Lawrence was there, they would prefer Trevor Lawrence, and I don't know how it went 2-3 for them, but they were cool with taking either one of those quarterbacks. That's why they traded up to 3. You can't trade up to 3 pre-draft because you don't know who's going to be there unless you're comfortable with whatever's going to be on the board. That's what the Saints are essentially saying with this trade is, hey, we comfortable with whatever's on the board at 16 and 19. We got a list of 20 dudes that we absolutely love in this draft. Love. Okay. Not like, because you don't make this trade if you like dudes. You make this trade if you love guys. You love multiple prospects that you expect to be on the board at 16 and 19. So you pull the trigger. This is more of a here and now type of move. Sort of like LA Rams-ish, where you're like, F the future. Okay. The future is now. The time is now. The Eagles are like, yeah, that's cool, but the future could be your present and your future if you handle it right. If you just play for now, This shit might be fruitful now, but into the future, you're going to pay for it, which is true. Like, at some point, all of this shit is going to catch up with the Rams. All the shit that they've been doing, this infinite amount of cap that they seem to always come up with to sign all these veteran players that can help them win right now. There's a reason Sean McVay threw out the idea of retirement after winning the Super Bowl. He's not retiring. This dude is a football junkie. He's not retiring, but what he is doing, and again, Sean McVay playing chess, not checkers. He's setting up the stage for when he sees this shit starting to fall apart and all of the moves that they've made to give them a chance to win is starting to really come back to bite them in the ass. That's when Sean McVay is going to retire and go to broadcasting. Just like that. And he'll make more money in a broadcasting contract than he made as a head coach. And he's setting the stage for that. He's going to leave their ass like USC was left after Pete Carroll left for the NFL with all those sanctions and leaving their ass with no talent and sanctions and shit that hampered USC. Shit, they still trying to dig themselves out of that hole to this day. And that was damn near 20 years ago. That's how Sean McVay is going to lead the Rams. So you better enjoy this shit right now while you're a Rams fan. Enjoy it now while it lasts. While you got Allen Robinson and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey and all of these guys and now Bobby Wagner. Enjoy this shit. Because once Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey start to get up there in age, and that'll be in like 3 years, and they lose a step, and Aaron's not as dominant anymore, and all of a sudden now you don't have those young boys that should be coming up into the game that can help you. Now all of a sudden you don't have those studs, those frontline dudes, and you don't have any first-round picks because you gave all them shits away. So now you relying on third and fourth and fifth round dudes to come in here and exceed expectations. It's okay to do that when you already got the foundation that is Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, and Von Miller, who's no longer there. Now is Bobby Wagner, and you got Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson and Matthew Stafford. You got all these frontline dudes that allow you to circumvent not having a first or even a second round pick. When them dudes start getting up there in age and they're no longer at the top of their game and at top 5 in their respective positions, that's when they're going to start to feel that shit. And that's when Sean McVay is going to get out of there and exit stage left. But the Eagles are playing chess. Howie Roseman is playing chess. He's like, yo, y'all ain't going to catch me without a QB. Won't happen to me. Okay. I know how it look like in them streets when you don't have a QB. It won't be me. So either Jalen Hurts is going to figure this shit out and he's going to be the real deal. But if he's not, I'll be prepared to do some shit just in case. So this deal works for both teams. Saints need it right now. Right here, right now. Saints want all their picks right now. They can't wait, okay? And Dennis Allen's like, look, I may not get another chance to be a head coach, man. I got to get this shit right this time, okay? Because if I F this one up, I probably won't get. I'll be doomed to being a defensive coordinator the rest of my life. Okay, like this is it for him. So chips to the center of the table. Let's see what we can get done. Eagles are like, yeah, we'll get one guy in this, and we know what the 18th pick is going to be. It's going to be a receiver. They whiffed on Jalen Reagor. They know that they effed up, and so they're like, yeah, we got to fix it. That's why they couldn't give away both first rounders, and it didn't make sense to do that. We still need a receiver. This is a deep draft class. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. Let me just get mine out the way now. Okay, let me get mine out the way now. That's what they're going to do. I believe. I could be wrong, but I think that's what they're going to do. Take a receiver at 18, and then we'll see what happens after that. But the Eagles got a first-round pick in exchange for this deal next year. So now they got 2 first-rounders. They get a second. So this will be the deal that keeps on giving. Hell, 2 years down the road, they'll still be reaping the benefits of this. So Eagles are in a really good position. So that's going to do it for the Gem Droppin Session. Let's transition to In Case You Missed It. All right. Got a super chat here. I'm going to go ahead and knock this super chat out real quick, and then we'll get to In Case You Missed It. Terry Maples. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Terry writes, sup, Lou? Sup, Terry? Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, would you do 11 for DK? knowing we would have to pay him and Terry, still thinking trade back is the best course of action in this deep draft. There's no way in hell you trade for DK Metcalf knowing you have to pay him. Right? I mean, that goes against every principle of what Washington is trying to do. Because again, I talked about this last offseason when we went and got Curtis Samuel. Like, hey, make sure you're very careful about how you approach the free agent wide receiver market, because keep in mind, you got to pay Terry next year. So you don't want to go out here spending $18 million on Kenny Golladay, and then Terry's looking like, well, shit, if he got 18, I need 20. Well, we didn't expect Christian Kirk to get the deal that he got in the wide receiver market to explode the way that it did. So he's going to get the 20 anyway. At this point, it's 2021, 22, somewhere in that neighborhood. And if Washington isn't willing to pony up, that's why you keep hearing all these trade rumors for DK Metcalf, because teams are looking at, their situation similar to the way, what happened with the Chiefs, where the Chiefs like, we can't pay you that kind of money, Tyreek. And Tyreek's like, all right, then trade me then. And people are looking at the Seahawks like they're not in a position to win right now. The minute they decided to trade Russell Wilson, that was the minute they gave up on trying to win right now. They're rebuilding in Seattle, whether they want to admit it or not. So DK Metcalf is a guy that can help someone win right now. But by the time the Seahawks figure out the quarterback position, it could take them years before they figure this shit out. I mean, they could figure it out this year. They could figure it out in 5 years. We don't know. But he's an asset right now. And what good is it to have a guy like DK Metcalf if you don't have anybody consistently to get him the football? I mean, it's cool to have a guy that can do the things DK Metcalf can do, but if you don't have someone consistently that can get him the football and you're paying him all this money, it's kind of counterproductive if you're Seattle. So if you want to fast track this thing, you hold on to Tyler Lockett. You just drafted the kid from Western Michigan. And so you got receiver. You got a couple of receivers. We don't know how good Dwayne Eskridge, that's his name. You just drafted Dwayne Eskridge last year. You don't really know how good he's going to be, but you're hoping that he continues to develop. And then you pick up more. To me, you move DK, you pick up draft capital, and you try to fast track this thing. You try to put yourself in a position that if the quarterback isn't found this year, maybe he's found next year. And you try to put yourself in a position. You've been here before if you're Seattle. You were here once before when you went through that transition period where you were, with Tavares Jackson, and you were kind of mulling around 500, and you were building what ultimately turned into Legion of Boom, and an offense that turned out to be solid. You were building all of that, waiting for a guy like Russell Wilson to fall into your lap, and that happened in 2012. So you've been here before. You know what it looks like. You know what you need to do, but can you execute? Trading DK Metcalf may be ultimately the best thing for them to do to help fast track this. But like I said, it'll be interesting to see, because I don't think they really want to pay him what it's going to take. And there's a lot of dudes out here in that draft class in particular. There's DK, there's AJ Brown, there's Deebo Samuel, there's Terry McLaurin. There are a lot of receivers from that draft class that were not first-round picks that these teams do not have fifth-year options on, that have to get paid this offseason, or you put yourself in a tough position, because then you have to franchise tag, and you do not want to go down that road. So I think the Seahawks are going to probably move DK Metcalf. He reportedly said he hasn't heard anything. Just because you ain't hear shit, Bobby Wagner didn't hear that he was getting cut and released, okay? Just because you ain't heard shit doesn't mean they ain't working behind the scenes to get it done. Clearly in Seattle, they will lie to anybody's face. They already lied to us once at the combine when they told us that they weren't trading Russell Wilson, that anybody that calls, that their GM, Schneider, is telling everyone, hey, we're not interested. And then a week later, he's traded. So clearly, they got no problems shitting on anybody. So I think DK is going to get traded. I told you guys that last week. I'm sticking to that this week. I think he's going to be moved. That's the next big wide receiver domino that I think is going to fall. And if someone trades for him, that means they're going to pay him. Like, you don't trade for him and then don't work out a deal. So I think he gets traded, gets some new money, and then that will kind of reset the wide receiver market, and then everybody else will kind of fall in. I just hope it's not some crazy asinine amount, because to me, he's not better than AJ Brown. And so if he gets more money, then AJ has to get more money. And it's hard to say where Terry McLaurin falls into all of this, but Terry's going to be looking like, yo, I got 2 straight 1,000-yard seasons, man. Like, I need it. I need it. So it's getting real. It's getting really real out in the field. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that situation. But I don't think he's coming here. That is for sure. Anyway. So that was one of the first topics we were going to address. And in case you missed it, was the DK Metcalf trade rumors. But since my guy Terry Maples just brought that up, we can scratch that off the list. I do want to talk about the Devontae Parker trade. I told you there was going to be another trade. I didn't know it was going to be Devontae Parker, but there was an abundance of riches in Miami at the receiver position, clearly after the Tyreek Hill trade. This frees up a negligible amount of cap space. So it's not like they freed up, $8, $9, $10, $11 million worth of cap space. It's freed up like $3.3 million. Now, $3.3 million can go a long way, but it's still, they didn't have to do this. They decided to do this because it was too many cooks in the wide receiver kitchen. Like we got too many dudes. We need to create, because it ain't enough balls to go around. So they created the space necessary by moving Devontae Parker. Now, I'm always leery. Check this out. I'm always leery of teams that are okay with trading a dude in the division when that guy isn't 33 years old. I'm always leery when a team is comfortable trading what we perceive to be a good player. He's not a star, right? Never has been, but he's been a really serviceable wide receiver in this league. And I've said many a times, a more likely than not a 2, but he's a low-end 1 at his best, was Devontae Parker. I always take a step back and say, you giving him to the Patriots? Interesting. What don't we know about Devontae Parker? Why are you so gung-ho and ready to give him up? Maybe the Patriots were the only ones that were willing to give the Dolphins anything. And they're like, either we're going to have to cut this guy or we could take this, 5th round pick from the Dolphins or whatever it ended up being. I don't know, but anytime someone gives you something in the division, that's never a good thing, usually. So I'm got my eye on that Devontae Parker situation. To me, Devontae Parker landing in New England means that N'Keal Harry is expendable. To me, that's what that says to me. Like, I needed a big body receiver that can go up and get the football. We got a bunch of smaller dudes, but I needed a big body receiver that could go down and get the 50-50 ball. That's what Devontae Parker brings to the table. So now I don't need N'Keal Harry anymore. I tried to trade him last year. Nobody would take me seriously. I want to trade him now. I still think no one's looking to move any draft assets for N'Keal Harry. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets released here shortly, whether it's pre-draft, post-draft. It might not make any sense for them to do it right now, pre-draft. But post-draft, maybe somebody didn't get, a receiver and now they're a little thirsty. Maybe you can get a 7th for some, for him next year. If you're the Patriots, maybe you're looking to draft another receiver and you just want to make sure you get that guy before you release N'Keal Harry. I think they're going to move on from him. After this deal with Devontae Parker, I think they're going to move on from him. But it's just interesting, not much was swapped here in terms of, draft capital. Not a ton of money involved. I think he's making like $5.3 million or something like that. So it's not a big hit on the cap for the New England Patriots to take over his current contract. And, the Dolphins aren't saving a ton of money. I just find it interesting that they decided to trade him in division. So we'll see what happens there. In case you missed it, the Panthers and Lions reportedly don't have any interest in old Baker Mayfield kind of just dangling out there in the wind, man. Baker might have effed up. I mean, let's keep it a buck. Baker might have effed up because had he kept his mouth shut, not been in his feelings, and I get it. They went behind your back, tried to replace you, didn't tell you about it. You aren't going to be happy whether they told you about it or not, but at least you wouldn't have been blindsided by it. I get it. Still, if he shuts his damn mouth, the Browns said, we're out. And if Baker's like, good, I'm glad you're out, I'm going to show y'all. And he balls out this year, maybe he gets paid and he stays in Cleveland and all is right with the world for Baker Mayfield. And he could keep doing his progressive commercials. Instead, he ran his damn mouth, penned a letter, put his middle name in there, his whole government name in the letter at the end, which meant I'm done. I'm not coming back. The Browns said, okay, that's how you feel. They jumped back into the Deshaun Watson fray and made the man an offer he could not refuse. I told y'all, I'm going to keep working on that Italian accent. That's terrible. All right. And how can you say no to 5 years, 230 fully guaranteed? How can you say no to that? How can you say no to, if I get suspended, y'all got me so that I only lose about $1 million? You know, like you're only docking me my salary for this year, and then my salary for this year is $1 million. Like, how can I say no to this? You're essentially safeguarding me and guaranteeing me $230 million. Watson said it was never about the money. Bullshit. Okay, bullshit. You had moved on from the Browns. You were ready to go to Atlanta. The Browns had moved on from you. And then Baker told the Browns, F you, flipped them the bird. They came back, gave you an offer you couldn't refuse. You told Atlanta, sorry, I got to go. So Bake has now put himself in a position. He thought, and see, this is what happened. Bake thought, oh, I'm available now. It's teams that still need a quarterback. Somebody will come get me. Somebody will rescue me. I'm not sure about that, Bake. I'm not sure about that, buddy. And the Browns already said, hey, bruh, you might have to sit tight. Who wants to sit in the quarterback room with Deshaun Watson and you being the number 2 guy? Who wants to do that? Like, Bake, like that's not a tenable situation for Bake. That's a bad look for him. And the Browns are like, hey, look, we're not in any hurry to just give you away, and we're not cutting you right now. We don't have to do anything. We good. And so if the Lions and the Panthers aren't interested, which I don't blame either team for not being interested, and everybody else, see, this needed to happen earlier in the offseason when you had desperate teams like Washington and other teams involved that were looking to potentially upgrade the quarterback position. That's when you needed this shit to happen, you know, when everybody hadn't already grabbed, like the Steelers might have been interested in Baker. I'm not saying they would have, but maybe, you know, and if, I don't know, maybe the Browns trade him in division. I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But there were other teams that were interested early on in this process. And everyone had to go, I got to go get mine. I can't wait. I got to go get mine. So they went and got theirs. The Steelers went and got Mitchell Trubisky, Washington traded for Carson Wentz. Hell, even the Colts were like, yo, I'm interested. I'll take some Bake. And then the Falcons moved on Matt Ryan, and it was like, well, shit, we'll take Matt Ryan then. Look, everybody's like, look, I got to get my seat. So now all the chairs are pretty much filled up, and the only 2 that are really left is, to me, Seattle, not Detroit. They got Jared Goff. At this point, I don't need another quarterback other than Jared Goff until I get my next dude, if I'm Detroit. So I don't think the Lions should be interested. The next guy is going to be a young guy. It's not going to be another veteran in Detroit, more likely than not. So Jared Goff is my stopgap veteran until I find a young boy that's going to change the game for me. So I don't know why the Lions are even in this conversation. To me, it's Seattle and Carolina that have vacancies left in the NFL. Everybody else has a quarterback. You may not love the quarterback, but they got a dude that they can start. Seattle technically has Drew Lock, and Carolina technically has Sam Darnold. Ugh, that's nasty. You know, I love me some Drew Lock, man. I'm a Drew Lock apologist, but he stinks. So at this point, those 2 teams could use an upgrade. And both of them are like, nah, I smell you later, man. I'm good. So We'll see. Bake might have done himself a disservice, and he may look up and there's nowhere for him to go. And you know what? You got nobody to blame but yourself. We'll see how that situation ends up shaking out in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield. In case you missed it, teams eyeing wide receiver Brandon Cooks this season. He's due $12.5 million with the Texans. I could think of at least two teams right now that should be like, yo, what do we need to do? What do we need to give up to get Brandon Cooks? But it's got to be within reason. Kansas City has 2 first-round picks. I'm not giving you a first-round pick. Too many teams have done that with Brandon Cooks, gave up a first-round pick. I think at least 2 teams gave up first-round picks. The Patriots and the Rams gave up first-round picks for Brandon Cooks. I'm not doing that no more. But this man is a walking 1,000 yards. You need a 1,000-yard receiver. Brandon Cooks is the man for the job. Okay? A lot of people don't understand what Brandon Cooks is out here doing in these streets. All he's doing is putting up numbers no matter who the quarterback is. He's probably played for 5, 6 different quarterbacks, and the man's got at least 7,000-yard seasons under his belt. Okay? He's a walking 1,000 yards. Did it again last year. So if you want a guy, as long as he's healthy, if you want a guy that's going to produce for you, Brandon Cooks is the man for the job. If I'm Kansas City, if I'm Green Bay, especially the Packers, your cupboard is bare. Okay? Just like Kansas City, you gave up a big-time wide receiver, so you have 2 first-round picks this year, right? But unlike Kansas City, who still has some shit left, you got nothing for Aaron Rodgers right now. You lost MVS, okay? There's no more Devontae Adams. I don't know what's going on with the tight end, Robert Tonyan, but he was floating, out there in the wind at one point. Maybe he's back in Green Bay, maybe he's not. You got nothing out there. Okay. And maybe some of these young boys that you drafted, Alan Lazard and, the young kid you had, I think from Clemson last year. I think you got, is it Amari Rodgers that you drafted? I think maybe one of these young boys will step up. It ain't shit out there for you right now. Cooks would be a perfect veteran for either Kansas City or a place like, Baltimore, Kansas City, or Green Bay, to me, would be logical destinations for a guy like Brandon Cooks. An instant 1,000-yard receiver for an offense like Green Bay who's starving for a veteran. Because you can't fill up that roster with a bunch of young boys. You can't have a blind leading the blind. You need a dude, a dog that can show the young pups how to do it. See, at least in Kansas City, they still got veterans and they signed Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not saying he's a leader and you want him showing your young boy how to TikTok and shit. I'm just saying at least he's been able to do it in this league before. So worst case scenario, they got 2-3 dudes. They got Mecole Hardman still. They got the kid from Florida that's been there for a while. They got some shit. It ain't number 1 wide receiver shit, but they got some stuff out there. You ain't got nothing in Green Bay for real. So I look at a number of veteran teams that think they're in a position to do something great. Brandon Cooks is not a bad option. I'm not giving up anything more than a 3rd-round pick. But if you'll allow me to slide you this 3, I'll take Brandon Cooks and that $12.5 million off your hands. So I think he's interesting. I thought he was going to get dealt. I actually thought the Chiefs were going to go and get him last trade deadline, because they were missing that extra dude. Well, we'll see what happens with Cooks now. He's a veteran, sure. Had some concussion issues in the past, absolutely. There are some extenuating circumstances to consider. But if we're just talking production on the field, when the dude's healthy, there aren't many in the league better at producing than Brandon Cooks. So we'll see what happens for him there. In case you missed it, Rams signed Bobby Wagner to a 5-year, $50 million deal. Okay. $65 million is what it could get up to with bonuses and incentives. To me, this is all about the ability for Bobby Wagner to get back at the Seahawks. Not to say that he just picked the Rams strictly off of the fact that he'll play the Seahawks twice a year. That's good money. He was asking for 1 year, $11 million. Well, that's $10 million per. So that's pretty much on par with what he was asking for. So it's not like he settled for less so he could get at the Seahawks twice a year, because how they did them at the end was dirt McGirt. You don't do a 10-year vet that's giving you blood, sweat, and tears, helped you win a Super Bowl, helped you, be one of the best defenses in the league. You don't do your captain and your leader the way they did him on the way out, which is pretty much don't tell him shit and then release him. So I do think there's a little bit of that in here where he's like, yeah, I'm gonna get at these bastards. All right, they thought they was off the hook. I'm gonna get their ass twice a year. I'm gonna punish them. And they stink, so it's gonna be easy for them to just trample the Seahawks. And he's gonna put up monster numbers. 16 tackles, a forced fumble and a pick. He gonna do some shit to them, right? Because they stink. But I think this is about him having a chance to win another Super Bowl too. And the Rams just won it. They're trying to run it back. This is a good location for him. I actually thought that Baltimore was an even better fit for him, just from a stylistic approach and standpoint. He fits the Baltimore Ravens DNA and profile. But Rams signed him up. They know what they're getting because they've seen him. I've always said family members are always watching your stuff. They side-eyeing your stuff. They may act like they ain't looking, but they looking at your stuff, and as soon as it becomes available, they're going to try to snatch it up. That's why you often see players that end up leaving a team stay in the division when it's a free agent type of move. It's not uncommon to see one guy go from one team in the division to the next. Why? Because the other teams in the division respect that man's game because they've seen him up close and personal twice a year for the last 3-4 years. So they know what he's about. Makes a ton of sense. Makes a ton of sense for Bobby Wagner to want to stay in the division. That's why Dick Sherman went to the 49ers. Why? Because the 49ers knew what he was about. We see it all the time. So we'll see what happens with Bobby Wagner and how good of a fit that is. Clearly, this is not a 5-year, $50 million deal. I'd say this is probably a 3-year deal with exit ramps after the third year for them to get out of. He's already 32 years old. There's no way he's playing at the level that he's been playing at for his entire career for 5 more years. He hasn't shown any signs of slowing down to this point. So the deal is warranted right now, just like Von Miller's deal. What was it? 6 years, 100 and whatever million. We all know it's like a 3-year deal, right? We don't expect Von Miller to be playing at a high level, 4 or 5 years from now. Same with Bobby Wagner, but it's good money for Bobby Wagner. So we'll see what happens there. In case you missed it, Bruce Arians retires. He's going to take a front office job and role with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They promote from within. Todd Bowles is promoted to head coach, given a 5-year deal. Good for Todd Bowles. It sucks for that Buccaneers staff because we needed a white dude to champion the brothers. You needed that. Because we already know brothers giving brothers jobs. We've seen that before. That movie is old. We need white dudes looking out for brothers and making sure that they stay employed and they get in positions of power so that they can get a job. That's what Bruce Arians was doing. Like I said, he was one of the few coaches in the league with a third eye. He was one of the most woke coaches in the league. Always loved me, Uncle Bruce. You're the cool cat with the can't go to match. That was my guy. He's always looking out for the brothers. His staff was damn near all black. And he made sure Todd Bowles got this job. He's been championing for Byron Leftwich to get a job. He was like, look, don't give me none of the credit for none of this offensive shit. This is all Byron. Because he wants to make sure they know, hey, this brother needs a job. Love me some Bruce Arians. Ain't nobody else in the league like him. Unapologetic, says whatever the hell he feels like saying. He cuss out Tom Brady. He'd air him out in the media. He don't give a shit. Love me some Bruce Arians. I'm going to miss him. But I told Bucs fans when they got him, I said, enjoy Bruce. He's like a shooting star. But that shit's going to explode after 2 or 3 years. They actually got more than I thought they were going to get. As I said, you getting Bruce for 2 years. They got him for 3. Okay? They got him for 3. And it was a hell of a ride from Jameis Winston, 30-30, 30 for 30 season, to Tom Brady in a Super Bowl to year 2 of Tom Brady to, all right, I'm out. Gave y'all all I had, put y'all in a much better position than where y'all were when I got here. And I left y'all a lot of stuff. Take care of it. But he's going to be in the front office to see this thing through. So I feel good about that. But love that Todd Bowles is getting another opportunity, because I thought he got worked in New York with the Jets. Never had a quarterback. The whole Ryan Fitzpatrick thing was a farce. And he got blamed for all their, misgivings. And I thought he should have already had another opportunity to be a head coach. Like Adam Gase is out here, flaming franchises left and right, and he would jump from one to the next. And my guy Todd over here is struggling to get another chance. I'm glad to see that finally has come to fruition. So good for Todd Bowles. I'm rooting for him. And hopefully he's able to establish himself in Tampa. They win a ton of games. He is able to get comfortable and hire a whole bunch of brothers and do what Dennis Green did for the Black head coaching community, which is sprout all types of seeds and make sure that everybody's getting work. That's what we need. We need somebody. Mike Tomlin is trying, but it ain't good enough, okay? He ain't doing a good enough job. I need Todd Bowles to do what Dennis Green did back in 1992. Make sure that guys like Tony Dungy and Mike Tomlin and guys like that get jobs. So good for Bruce Arians. Bravo. Job well done, Bruce. And Todd Bowles, I need you to take this torch and run as fast as you can with that son of a bitch. All right? Don't look back. So, in case you missed it, we're going to save that for garbage time. That's what we're going to do. I got some super chats that I want to get to real quick. So we'll save that last one for garbage time. All right. Got a super chat here. Hold on. I think I got a couple more super chats. Let me get to these first. Got a super chat here from Matthew Stansberry. Thank you for the super chat, Matthew. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Matthew Stansberry writes, great insights. Keep up the good work. Hey, I appreciate you for stopping by, for dropping a love offering, and continue to show your support, man. I really do appreciate you for time, energy, and effort. So thank you so much, Matthew. Appreciate you. John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Speaking of the MOBB, remember, we're going in heavy on the draft this week. Starting this week on Thursday, we're starting with the wide receiver position. So if you're not a member of the MOBB, now's the time to get in. We're starting with the receiver position this week, and we will progress to other positions. There's a poll up now. If you're a member of the mob, if you haven't voted yet, please do so that your voice can be heard as to what position we will then venture to next week as we have this crash course heading towards the draft. You guys make your voices heard. Vote in the poll as to what position we should tackle next week. So, John, thank you for the super chat and being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what up, Lou? What's up, JL Smooth? Says, what the hell are the Snyders doing? Now allegedly holding 40% of ticket revenue from the league. Dan's out if true, right? Yeah, he is out if it's true. Problem is you can't prove it, and nobody can. So that's going to be the problem. Look, the man is Teflon, all right? Teflon Dan. Don't shit stick to this man. And really, that's for any NFL owner, to be honest with you. They protect their own, all right? You got to do some real sleaze bucket shit. And again, this is always my point, because the shit he's done already, these infractions qualify for dismissal. However, I need gun and I need ballistics in hand, okay? Not only do I need you to fire the gun, I need you to leave the ballistics evidence there at the scene. So essentially what I need Daniel Snyder to do is I need him to point the gun, pull the trigger, put the gun down, leave it at the crime scene, leave the ballistics there as well so that they can test the gun to make sure that that gun was fired and have his fingerprints on the gun. If they don't have all of that, then he's not getting pushed out as owner. And they don't. Right now, they have he said, she said. They got one guy who has no actual proof, tangible proof, okay, Just a lot of talking, not a lot of actual documents that can prove what he's saying and back it up. So his lawyers are going, and he might actually countersue. You know how Daniel Snyder does, okay? I wouldn't be shocked if he sued for defamation of character, okay? Because that's how he rolls, okay? He doesn't let shit slide, okay? So he's probably guilty of this, and he's gonna have the audacity to countersue for defamation of character. This is what this man does. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's guilty of this infraction, but they can't prove it. So he's not going anywhere. Trust me when I tell you, he's not going anywhere. Thank you for the super chat, John Livingston. Derek B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Derek B, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, 2020 Hurts had first team reps and played him by week 3. Again, they saw a quarterback that offered them a different dimension. It's nothing wrong. I told you it's the same thing that the Raiders were doing with Marcus Mariota, right? Put him in there in a couple packages. Now, again, if you're a starting quarterback, you don't like that shit. Did Drew Brees like Taysom Hill coming in and taking snaps from him? Hell no. But guess what? That benefited the offense. It added another dimension. That's where the Eagles got the shit from. I mean, if you want to go back in the archives, you could say Colin Kaepernick had a package when Alex Smith was there. But they were actually trying to wean Alex Smith out and wean Colin Kaepernick in. That was not what they were doing in Philadelphia. They simply were saying, hey, we got a dynamic dude here with his legs that can add another dimension to our offense. This was not supposed to be him trying to take Carson Wentz's position, okay? That's not what that was supposed to be. Keep in mind, Wentz in 2019 took a ragtag group of Eagles receivers and skill position guys and led them to the postseason, okay? He was coming off of a big year. So let's not act as if Carson Wentz was struggling in 19 and they needed to do something. They simply saw an opportunity and they tried to take advantage of it. That's what this league is a copycat league. A team sees some shit that works. Hey, why don't we try that? We got an athlete sitting back here as our backup quarterback. Why not? So they gave it a whirl. Again, if Carson Wentz would have continued to play well, he could have kept getting those snaps, but his ass wouldn't have been starting at the end of the season. He only got to start because Carson Wentz was struggling, period. So, like I said, they did the same thing in New Orleans. They did the same shit in Vegas, okay? We've seen this before, and you'll continue to see that. If a team has an athlete, a quarterback, they will try to get him on the field. So, I don't put too much stock into that. I don't. Let's see. Malachi Malik, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Malachi, writes, what's up, Lou? What's up, Malachi? Says, quick question. If Garrett Wilson is still available at 11, do you think we still take Olave? Yes. I think I like Olave more than I like Garrett Wilson. I think Ron likes Olave more than he likes Garrett Wilson. If you watch the tape, to me, Garrett Wilson is really good. I don't think he's better than Olave because Olave, to me, is a 3-level receiver, meaning he can hurt you underneath on those shallow crosses, those mesh concepts. You can get it to him in his hands and he can make things happen. We've seen him do that at Ohio State. We know Garrett Wilson can do that too, right? He can work the intermediate. He can uncover. To me, the tool that I want to use the most out of a receiver in the NFL is the ability to separate. There's no one in this draft that separates like Chris Olave. No one. And there's some guys that'll break you off. But Chris Olave is a technician. You want to know why Justin Jefferson came into the league and took that shit by storm? Not just because he was getting over the top, smoking fools, because he was breaking dudes off underneath. And he would be so damn wide open, he would be yelling, hey, Kurt, shit, I'm open. You know why? Because he just broke a dude off at the 3-yard line, left him at the goal post. He's breaking out towards the pylon, and that dude's nowhere to be found. Those are the kind of guys I want on my team. Garrett Wilson is solid, but he doesn't separate himself in that area of the field, the middle of the football field. Wilson can hurt you underneath. Wilson can hurt you deep. Olave can hurt you in all 3 areas. Give me that guy. And then again, the big separator between the two was supposed to be Garrett Wilson was supposed to be so much faster than Chris Olave. Garrett Wilson was supposed to be 4.38, 4.35, and Olave was supposed to be 4.48. That was supposed to be this big discrepancy between the two in the speed department. And then Olave put all that shit to rest at the combine. He ain't that much faster than me, if he's faster than me at all. So, to me, I think Olave is the pick, personally. But look, we're not the only team interested in Chris Olave. It's amazing that everyone just assumes, oh, he'll be there at 11. Oh, will he? There's some teams up there that need receivers. The Jets need a receiver. They got 2 top 10 picks. They need a receiver. Don't be so sure that, remember, once upon a time, we all just assumed Jerry Jeudy was going to be the first Alabama receiver taken back in the 2020 draft? We just all assumed Jerry Jeudy would be the first receiver taken. Nobody saw Henry Ruggs being the first dude taken out of Alabama. We all assume, oh, yeah, Garrett will be the first one taken. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Because I can tell you this, Chris Olave looks a lot like Justin Jefferson. Body type, speed, route running ability. He looks a lot like Justin Jefferson. It's easy for somebody to fall in love with him in the top 10. I'm just saying. So, and we'll see what happens with Garrett Wilson. These receivers are going to go a lot higher than I think people think. That's all I know. At one point, we were talking about, oh, they won't be a top 10 receiver. I'm not sure about that. I'm not too sure about that. HTTR for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, sorry, my Tar Heels had to do that to Duke, Lou. Yeah, that shit hurt. I'm not going to lie to you. That shit hurt. One, because there's so many Tar Heel fans out there that was talking reckless. I just wanted to shut them up. And then when you're the bad guy, so of course a lot of you know, if you're not a Duke fan, then you hate Duke, and that comes with the territory. This is the only team that I'm a fan of that is the villain of their sport. Duke Blue Devils are the bad guys, just like the Yankees are in the MLB, just like the Lakers are in the NBA, just like the Patriots are in the NFL. You have bad guys in every sport. You need bad guys. That's what makes it fun. And it's always good when the bad guys are good. When they stink, it's not as fun. I'm not a fan of any other bad guy in any other sport. Okay? But it sucks as a fan of a team that's perceived as the bad guy, because it's us against the world. And even though their team is garbage and they don't have any say-so in the outcome of anything, they're still talking shit because you're the bad guy. That's what everybody does to the bad guy, right? So I wanted Mike Krzyzewski to go out. I want him to go out riding out into the sunset. Not like Tony and Scarface. I wanted him to say, after we beat Carolina, I wanted him to have dinner and say, look, take a look at this bad guy, because you'll never see another one like this again. I wanted him to do that because he's got all the records and nobody's breaking his records. The man has over 100 NCAA tournament wins. That's all I really wanted the fellas to get, to be honest with you. He came into the tournament with 97 career NCAA tournament wins. He needed two, he came in with 98. He needed 2 to get to 100. I said, hey, fellas, 2 wins requires you to get to the second weekend of the tournament. That's all I'm asking you to do. That's it. Get 2 wins, because we were so skittish all season long that I wouldn't have been shocked if we got beat by Texas Tech, and we almost did, okay? We smoked And Arkansas was a great matchup for us. We smoked them. But I just wanted 2 so we can get to 100. That's a nice round number. Nobody's touching that. Nobody's even close. Okay. It takes a long time to get to 100 NCAA tournament wins because you only have to get there year after year. You got to do damage when you get there. You got to win 3, 4, 5 games at a time. He's got 5 national championships. No other coach has more than 2 that's active. He's got 101 career NCAA tournament wins. Nobody's even remotely close to that. He's got 13 Final Four appearances. Nobody's even remotely close to that that's active. I just wanted him to go out on top like he deserved to. But there were so many haters out there. I was like, I want to stick it to all these haters, the Maryland fans. You're not even in our conference no more. Go talk to your garbage-ass Big Ten. Leave me alone. I can take it from ACC teams. That's family. Like I've always told you guys that. I can take it from the Giants. I can take it from the Eagles. I can take it from the Cowboys. That's family. If you ain't a part of this family, shut your damn mouth. Right? That's how I feel. So I can take it from Clemson. And there ain't a lot of Clemson fans out there, right? I can take it from UVA fans. I can take it from Virginia Tech fans. I can take it from Carolina fans, even though that shit hurts because they're our biggest rival. And there was a lot of them. Talking cold, hard cash, man. Damn. But they played well, man. They deserved to win. We didn't make winning plays, and they did. Caleb Love, with a shot of his life, was not scared, ice water in his veins, and we didn't make free throws. We did not want to win, and they did. Gotta give them credit. Doesn't make it any less hurtful, though. That shit still hurts. Anyway, I digress. That was the last super chat. Let's get to our final segment of the show in garbage time. I know you guys have seen this. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I don't think anything's going to come of it, but I know y'all seen Cap trying to make this comeback. Recently worked out at Michigan's Pro Day, with Jim Harbaugh. Slung it around the field a little bit. I don't care. I didn't watch it. I saw a couple of clips because to me that ship's sailed already. It's come, it's gone. He's not getting back into the league. I think what's being done here is good for the league. You always want to keep his name out there, like, oh, their team's interested. Seattle's the team that they pegged to be the team that's pseudo interested. So it makes it look like he's not being blackballed. He's blackballed. And so I don't think anything's going to come of it. I've even heard excuses like, oh, we're worried about the rust. The man said he's willing to take a backup job. Why do you care if he's rusty? He's backing up. He'll have plenty of time to knock the damn rust off. If you're interested, if he's talented enough, which we know he's talented enough to be a backup quarterback. Now, whether he's a starter or not, that's debatable. That's always been debatable. My stance has always been for the people that say Cap's no more than the 35th best quarterback. Okay, fine, that's fine. He should be on the NFL roster though. If he's the 30 whatever, if he's the 40 whatever, what I always contended was there aren't 64 better quarterbacks in the world than Colin Kaepernick. That was the problem for me, is that he wasn't on anybody's roster as a backup. Sure, he's not one of the best 32. That's fine. That's debatable because there are about 6 to 8 back into the league quarterbacks that he should have been starting over. But that was fine. I was like, okay, that's fine. If you want to make that debate and that argument, go right ahead. I'm not going to argue with you. My argument isn't that he should be starting, even though, as I just mentioned, the final 6 to 8 quarterbacks in the league usually ain't about a damn thing. But if you wanted to, if that was your case that you were stating and that was what you were hinging your argument upon, I would undercut you and say, all right, he doesn't have to start, but he's not worse than the backups, every single backup in the league. There's only about 10 to 12 backups in the league that are even worth the damn. The other dudes, they just collecting checks. Don't tell me Colin Kaepernick wasn't better than them. So to hear that, hey, I'm worried about his rust. That's translation. I'm making up an excuse to not sign him. Okay. I'm making up an excuse. We'll see what happens with that. I don't think anything's going to happen with that. To be honest with you, it's good to see him getting out there throwing the football around. And it's good to see him garnering a little bit of attention. If Seattle doesn't sign him, which they won't, what's stopping them now, right? they have Drew Lock at quarterback. What's stopping them? And I think Geno. Oh no, Geno. Oh no. I think they still got Geno on the roster. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Even if they do, what's stopping you from signing it if you're Seattle? You got nothing to lose. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the 251st installment of the Louie T Network podcast. Need y'all to do a huge favor for me, just a bit of a solid. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And also hit that like button as it helps this channel grow exponentially. Over 240 of you out there, and we still haven't hit the century mark in likes. Why? Come on now. We can do better than that. Hit the like button if you haven't already hit the like button. Please bless the kid on the way out. And if you could, please double back. Leave a comment. I know you've been in here chopping it up for the last hour and some change, but spin back around and leave a comment for the kid. And always greatly appreciated. So with that said, I am going to exit stage left, allow you to get back to whatever it was you were doing before I rudely interrupted your Monday afternoon, now evening. Look forward to chopping it up with you on a Wednesday. We'll see if anything materializes in the NFL trade market, whether it's draft-wise or in the veteran player-wise. I think some more trades are going to happen. So I think this Eagles trade is going to pop the top on the NFL trade, a draft trade market. And I think we may see one or two more trades there prior to the draft. But I still think we may see some movement with guys like DK Metcalf in particular in the NFL veteran trade market. So anyway, you guys take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man Louie T. Until next time, God bless and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.